Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be diving into dip powders from Valkyrie Dips. We're going to be creating a very simple style set today on the shape short coffin, and then we are going to be using the gel method today, so you're going to be able to see how to use your gel products with your dip powders. But before we dive into that, we're going to get one of the nails prepped. We're going to incorporate a little bit of color blocking. So for the color blocking, I like to use the 3M medical tape. I feel like that's the easiest for me. I get the most cleanest lines. It's also big enough so then I can easily rip this tape off at the end without having that tape rip. So I'm just going to line it up exactly where I want it on the nail, just making sure everything's laying flat. And to make sure that that line is completely pressed down, I'm going to use that silicone tool and just make sure that that tape is laying super flat. Now that the nail's prepped, we're going to start with the first color. It is called About Last Night. It is the brightest color that we're going to be incorporating today. And I'm starting with a very thin layer of gel. So I'm working that product right below the cuticle line and dragging that gel base down, and then I am going to work that product up. Now, before I went ahead and started applying the gel, I made sure I removed almost all the extra gel off that brush just to ensure that we were getting a very thin coat of gel, and then I did not cure. I went ahead and dipped right into that cupcake liner, and I dumped the powder into the cupcake liner just so we had a little bit more wiggle room. You totally could dip into that jar, but since this is uncured gel, I just wanted to make sure I had enough room so I wasn't bumping the sidewalls of the jar and then creating a little divot into the nail. So now that we have the powder on the entire nail, I'm just going to go ahead and just gently press everything down, making sure we are keeping the shape of the nail. That is definitely key when you're using dip liquids, but more important step when you are using the gel method, because when you are using the gel, they're a little bit thicker than your dip liquids, and pressing everything down will really cut down on all that extra bulk. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this nail in the lamp for 30 seconds, and then we're gonna dust off with this adorable flower dust brush. How cute was that? And then we're gonna do the exact same thing. We're gonna build up this color just a little bit more, and I'm gonna do another very thin layer of that gel base over the entire nail. One of the reasons why I like this gel base when I am making press-ons is because it's very thin. A little bit does go a long way. I really like the brush. And this formula for this gel base is HEMA TPO 21 free. So it's a very gentle formula. So you went ahead and dipped into the cupcake liner. And as I'm pressing down, I'm noticing I have a little bit of like darker areas on the side. You're going to see them here in just a minute and right here. So see how it looks a little bit wet still? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and dip this back into that powder just so we're absorbing all that extra gel base and really getting a good coverage. When you are pressing stuff down, even if you are using dip liquids and you notice any areas that look a little bit darker or still wet, just stick that nail back into that dip powder and then you'll go ahead and absorb whatever liquids you are using for your set. But I'm loving this coverage right here that we're getting, and I love this color so much. This is a great, beautiful coral pink, and I love it because it's something different. We've been playing with like a lot of reds and pinks, and I'm really loving this color right here. This is a great color not only for Valentine's Day, but a good one for spring and summer. Overall, I really liked how it's working with the gel method. Now we're getting into the color blocking nail, and I have the smallest amount of product on my brush, and I'm gonna go ahead and just apply that right against that color blocking tape. And you can get a little bit of that product onto the tape. Just be careful that you're not oversaturating the tape or covering it completely, because that's going to give you more of a hard time after we cure when you are pulling that tape off. But one of the reasons why I like using the 3M medical tape is that it has a waterproof barrier to it. So if you do oversaturate that tape too much, you have that extra layer of protection that dip base or the gel isn't going to seep onto the other side of the nail. Also, the tape I feel like is a little bit stronger, so when you are slowly removing it, you get a cleaner line. Plus, I like how big it is because I feel like the bigger the piece of tape is, the better it is for me to pull it off. So I cured for 30 seconds, we're dusting off, and we're gonna do the exact same thing. You can see here, I'm really making sure I have the most, like the least amount of product on my brush for this, because again, we want very thin layers and we want it to look even as possible and not like bumpy. And I really want to help reduce and minimize any of the bulk that I can. If you've struggled with bulk before when using the gel method, your gels might be more on the thicker side. So just keep that in mind. You really want a thin consistency when you're doing the gel method, when you're working with dip powders. And this one right here is definitely my go-to because again, a little bit does go a long way when you are working with this gel. All right, we dipped into the cupcake liner and we're just building up this color here. I really like how this looks with two coats. You can build it up with more if you want, but I'm loving it. And I feel like this color is working really well with the gel method as well. Sometimes when you're working with colors in this color family, they tend to not work with the gel method. They can look more of like you have a jelly kind of style dip powder that you're working with. It will be more sheer, but this one, it's really pretty and I love how it looks with two coats. So now that we cured for 30 seconds, we're gonna go ahead and just carefully remove this tape. So I'm just gonna take this nail completely off the stand so I have more control, and I'm just gonna slowly pull this tape off, and I'm just gonna just keep pulling until it's completely off. I like to pull it off slowly just so I can make sure that it's not ripping and we're not, wrecking that design that we just created. And then just to crisp up the line just a little bit before we go in with the next color, I'm just gonna clean it up with a file. Always do this part before you go in with that next color because you're not going to be able to straighten up that line once you go ahead and incorporate that other color. Now we're going to stick the nail back on the stand and our color blocking is already looking good. Now we're going into the next color, which is a beautiful pink, and it has the most gorgeous subtle shimmer to it. It's really beautiful and it looks so good paired with the three colors that we're working with today. And again, we're going to start off with the color blocking nail and just carefully apply that gel base right below that line that we just created. And then we're just going to go ahead and dip into that cupcake liner. You will notice here in just a little bit when we go in for that second dip that I did get a little bit of gel base on that beautiful coral color that we just did. But to clean that up, I'm just going to go in with a silicone tool and just remove that extra gel product, and then we'll go ahead and dip into the cupcake liner. So that's some tips and tricks. If you do get some gel product on top of that other color, you can just simply remove it before you go ahead and dip into that powder again. Now we cured and we're dusting off, and you can really see how beautiful this color is. You're gonna see this color on its own in just a little bit. We're gonna do an all over color on one of the nails, so you're gonna get a really good visual on how this powder performs. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Mallory. I post weekly videos and we play with dip powders, we play with gels, I do dip liquids, we do the gel method like you see right here. We do some very simple nail art, and I love making press-ons, and I really love showcasing colors for you so you can see how dip powders perform. And a lot of times it's easier to see a color in action versus looking at swatches. I feel like this way you can get a really good idea if a powder or a color is going to be right for you. Plus we're making press-ons, which are really fun. Now, how do I apply my press-ons? I like to apply my press-ons using dip base. So I like to start with the pinky nail first, and I'll go ahead and apply a little bit of dip base to my natural nail and then a little bit of dip base on that press on. And then I like to apply it on a slight angle right below the cuticle line. And once I know everything is straight, I'll go ahead and press that nail completely down, and I hold it for a full 30 seconds. And then I'll repeat that process on the rest of the nails until they're all on my hands. And then I avoid any lotions or cuticle oils, any hot water, anything like that. I like to apply them before bed, and then I just feel like I get the best longevity when I apply them right before bed, because if you apply any cuticle oils or lotion after you apply your press-on set, you're naturally going to go ahead and start breaking down that adhesive layer. So for me personally, I like to just avoid washing my hands and applying lotions or cuticle oils, and I just go right to bed, and then in the morning I can go about my day as normal. And I know it's really hard once you put on a set not to go ahead and apply the cuticle oil and lotion, but for me that's what works personally best for me. And I get the best longevity when it comes to my press-ons. And I'm going to do a whole video on prep, removal, and how I apply my press-ons here in just the next few weeks, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And if you are looking for a shorter wear time, so just using the dip base alone, I can get about 9 to 11 days. And if you are looking for a shorter wear, you can always do a little bit of peel base and then go in with your dip base. That's going to give you a shorter wear time of like 2 to 3 days. So those are a couple options, but we'll get into that more in depth here in just a few weeks. Moving on, here we are doing an all over color on the middle nail here, and I love this color so much. It's really beautiful, and I just love how it's pink, but it's still pulling in like a little bit of mauve, and it's a little bit of like a dusty rose, and it has the most beautiful shimmer to it. And I'm loving the coverage that we're getting with the gel method. The color is vibrant. Sometimes when you're working with the gel method, I feel like it can mute your colors a little bit, but we are still pulling in all these beautiful colors. We're going to build up this color just a little bit more with one more dip. And now, since this is a very sparkly dip powder, I'm going to make sure once we're done applying the gel base that I go ahead and wipe off this brush on a paper towel just to make sure that we're not getting any of these sparkles into the gel base. This will also help prevent contamination. If you've ever contaminated your gel base, you'll notice that it's a little bit cloudy. It'll start becoming more thicker. It also will be harder to cure. So those are some signs that you may have got some dip powder into your gel base. It's a very slow process to contaminate your gel base versus your dip base. But over time, you will notice that it's thicker, it's cloudy, and then it will not cure as good. So keep that in mind if you are working with something like this that has those beautiful fine micro shimmers in it. Just make sure you just wipe off that brush with a paper towel before you stick it back into that bottle. So we're going to just finish up building up this color. I'm dipping it into that cupcake liner one more time just to make sure we're absorbing all that extra gel base. And this color is almost done. And then we're going to be moving on to a really fun glitter, but I'm loving the coverage and I really like how delicate this color is. This color would be great as a one over, like all over color as well. All right, so Champagne Kisses, this right here, it's a really fun glitter. It kind of has like these mylar shards in it. It's really fun and it's something different because it's not your normal like circular or hexagon piece glitters. It's something different with all these irregular shapes. It's going to give your nail tons of different dimension. It kind of gives your nail kind of like an Elsa icy kind of look. It's really fun and it look like right here it kind of looks like a hot mess, but do not let these shard pieces be intimidated. They're really easy to work with. They're very thin. So I kind of have a little pile right there. I'm just going to go ahead and move those away. And we're just going to then spend some time making sure everything is laying super flat. I will spend extra time on this nail when I'm working with a glitter or a product like this that has the different shapes in it. I'll spend a lot of time making sure everything is laying exactly how I want it before I cure it, because once you cure it, if you have uneven spots, that's how it's going to cure, and then you're going to have to work a little bit harder on the filing and buffing. Plus, since it is the gel method, I don't want to work as hard when it comes to filing and buffing, because when you're working with the gel method and you need to encapsulate, that does take a little bit more effort. But overall, the gel method to me, when it comes to filing and buffing, is way low maintenance versus using dip liquids. So that was our first coat. I cured for 30 seconds, and now we're going to go ahead and dip back into this gorgeous powder. So again, I'm doing a very thin layer of that gel base. And then this time around, if you don't pick up as much as you want, we can always hand place as well. And hand placing, once you get to this part right here, how we're getting into the second coat, hand placing is definitely going to be your friend, especially to cut down on that bulk. So now you can see here we have a little bit more dimension on the nail. I really like how it looks. It kind of gives it like a layered ice effect. Overall, it's really fun. When the light hits it, it kind of looks pink, purple, a little bit of like a lavender. It's really pretty, and I just think it's something different and it pairs really well with these colors. I feel like this color would be great for springtime too. Mix it in with some light blues and lavenders. You can get a lot of use out of this. So you can see here, everything's laying really flat. These little like mylar flakes are very thin, so they are just naturally laying really flat to the nail. So now that I cured, I am gonna do a full layer on this nail, a full layer of that gel base, and then we're just gonna go ahead and fill in those areas, and we're just gonna hand place a whole bunch of these really fun irregular glitter pieces. And you can pick, there's some that are like more kind of iridescent, and there's some that are more like have like a pink holographic shift to it. I'm not going to be picky. I'm just going to pick up whatever I can pick up here and just fill in those areas. But filling in the bare areas is really going to help reduce bulk versus going back into that cupcake liner and doing a full dip for a third time, because that's really going to bulk up the nail. So anytime, especially if you are, I know we've been talking about bulk today a lot, but anytime you're playing with a glitter, if you can just do 2 dips and then hand place like we're doing right now, that's going to make all the difference in the world, and it's really going to help keep the shape of that nail. Now, if you are doing the gel method and you notice when you put your nails on the stand and you size them, they fit perfectly on your hand, but then after you did the gel method and you go to put your set on, one of the nails is kind of not fitting right. It could have shrunken a little bit. Sometimes when you're doing the gel method or working with gels, the nail can shrink a little bit. So if that happens to you, I recommend sizing up if you can, because then once you go ahead and cure and you go apply your set, you're not going to run into any of those issues. Making press-ons is definitely a learning curve. It's a lot of trial and error. So definitely just keep that in mind when you're working with it, that Once you get the hang of it, you're gonna love the process. So I cured for 30 seconds and then I went ahead and went right in with that buffer block just to clean everything up a little bit. And I did not run into any issues of cutting into those glitters because they were the same color all the way through. So I could have easily went in with that buffer without disturbing that beautiful color from that glitter. Now, if you're working with like a circular glitter or a hexagon shaped glitter, I would not recommend doing that until you clear encapsulate, because what's going to happen if you went over that glitter without a layer of protection, you would cut into those glitters and then that beautiful color would be gone and then you'd be left with silver. If you are looking to clear encapsulate before filing and buffing, you do a layer of gel base first, cure for 30 seconds, and then do a layer of gel top coat, cure for 60 seconds, and then start your filing and buffing. When you are working with your circular hexagon shaped glitters, that's going to give you your protection for those nails when it comes to filing and buffing. All right, so now we picked up so many fun pieces here. Check it out. This nail is cram packed. I love how this is looking organically. I love the placement. This right here was like the best dip that we had. And we're just gonna go ahead and keep pressing everything down. And I'm gonna use the precision tool just to make sure we're cleaning everything up, especially underneath the side of that nail. So we have a clean transition when it comes to applying to our natural nail. I love the precision tool for that, especially when you're working with these irregular shaped glitters, because a lot of times they like to hide underneath of that press on. So I'm just making sure everything is laying super, super flat before we go ahead and stick this in the lamp for a full 30 seconds. And you can see here, I'm gonna go back and just make sure we're moving any of those bigger pieces away from the sidewalls as well. That's gonna help all the difference at the end. Anything that's hanging over the sidewalls or by that cuticle line, that's a bigger piece, just gently brush those away. Dusting off here now that we cured. And I had a little area right here that was a little bit bare. So instead of applying that gel base to the entire nail, I just this time focused on those certain areas and applied the gel base. And then we're just going to pick up some of these flakes and just gently fill in those areas. So to me, I felt like I didn't need to add a whole bunch. So instead of just applying that whole gel base, we're just going to target those little areas and then just make sure everything is laying super flat before we go ahead and stick that in the lamp. And then we're almost done here. But how fun is this glitter? It's something different. It adds a little bit of depth to the nail and just like something different, right? So again, we cured, and I'm just gonna go in here and just clean everything up just a little bit with a very light hand. And then for the filing and buffing, I'm filing and buffing this nail right here. I did not do a layer of protection on it. I did the gel method on here and we went right in with the filing and buffing, because once you cure, that that dip powder is as hard as it's going to be and you are good to go. You can file and buff. If you are worried about cutting into any of those shimmers or anything like that, you could always clear encapsulate it with a layer of gel base and top coat. But I was perfectly fine with filing just like we're doing right now. I'm not disturbing the color. Everything is looking great. And we're just going to clean up the shape here a little bit. And then I'm going to go in with a layer of activator. This step right here is optional. This is something that I've been playing with for the last couple months. After my filing and buffing with my gel method, I do a layer of activator. I just feel like that brings the color to life. It also gets rid of any of those harsh filing lines, and it really makes that color super vibrant. So now that we did the activator, I'm doing a layer of gel base over the entire nail. And then we're going to go ahead and hand place some of those fun glitter pieces here right on that color blocking line. I really wanted to incorporate just a little bit more of these sparkles, and I just thought, you know what, we already tied in the color blocking of the two colors on this nail. We might as well incorporate the other color. So that is what we're doing. So back to that filing and buffing. If you were a little shocked that I just went right in with the buffer on these colors, that is the best part about doing the gel method, is that once you cure, these gels are, or these gels, these powders are ready to go for filing and buffing. And again, if you are working with a chunky glitter, I definitely recommend encapsulating with gel before you go ahead and file and buff. If you're working with a really thick chunky glitter, you could always do a barrier of a clear builder gel to protect those glitters. That's another option before you go ahead and file and buff, especially if you're very heavy handed. Definitely recommend using a clear builder gel or a rubber base even, and we can dive into that at a later time. But overall, I feel like the gel method is very low maintenance and definitely cuts down on my filing and buffing because we did spend time making sure everything was laying super flat. So basically, by the time we're done applying the dip powders, the nails just need just a little bit of cleaning up. And that activator that I've been playing with is just something like one day I was like, wow, I was working with a darker color nail. I think it was like for like New Year's, and I filed and buffed the black, and I was like, oh, this looks really gray now, and it just looked, like after you buff a darker color, it just does not look the same. And I was like, I want to bring this to life. So I was playing with if I just went over it with a layer of gel base and it was still kind of like a cloudy look. And then I tested it on another nail of doing the activator first and it brought that color back to life. And I was completely shocked by that. And I haven't noticed any difference of like any flaking or peeling when I go in with my gel base and top coat by incorporating that activator. So if definitely try it. I really like how it looks and I just feel like it makes all the difference in the world when you're getting that color payoff with the gel method. So we just finished up here doing the filing and buffing. I ended up doing a layer of gel base on this nail and cured for 30 seconds just because there was an area that I really wanted to just get into with my buffing. So I just wanted a very light coverage on there. So that's why I only did the gel base. So now that we did the filing and buffing, I did the activator, kind of all over the place now. And now we're going to go ahead and add some nail stickers. So I applied a layer of gel base to all of the nails that we're going to be applying the stickers to, and I cured for a full 30 seconds. And then we're going to use these really fun butterfly stickers. Now, again, this is on a layer of cured gel base. And I like doing the gel base because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. So see right here, even though we have this sticker on the nail, I'm using that silicone tool and I'm able to push this sticker around and really kind of right here, like I'm moving it just a little bit to get it exactly where I want it. I feel like applying that layer of gel base not only lets that nail lay really flat to that sticker lay really flat to the nail, but it also gives me a little bit of wiggle room to just easily like move that around. I really like that gel base layer. That's optional. You could totally skip that if you want and just apply the nail sticker and then do your layer of gel base. But this is what works best for me when it comes to applying even decals or nail stickers. I like having that extra layer. Now that that sticker is laying completely flat, to make sure that it does not start lifting, I'm going to do a layer of gel base over the entire nail. We're going to pop that in the lamp and cure for a full 30 seconds. And then we're going to use one of these butterflies on our color blocking nail just to kind of tie it all in. I just thought this one right here, like the half a butterfly flying, was really cute. So I'm just kind of playing with it, seeing exactly where I want it before I go ahead and stick it down. And then we're going to use this silicone tool just to make sure that that sticker is laying really flat. Applying a sticker and then using a silicone tool will really make sure that that sticker is laying really flat, but it also gets rid of the sticker outline. So then that nail sticker looks like it becomes one with the nail, because if you apply the sticker and just rub it with your finger, you're still going to see the outline of the sticker. For some reason, when you're using a silicone tool, it gets rid of the size of the sticker so you can barely see it, which I love that so much. So again, we're going to go ahead and just do another layer of that gel base over the entire nail, cure for 30 seconds, and then we're going to add one more butterfly to another nail just to kind of tie it all in. I wish I could have done butterflies on the sparkly nails, but obviously you wouldn't see it because the butterflies are white. But I really like the touch of butterflies. It's something different. We've been playing with tons of Valentine's Day stuff here on my channel, and before that we were really into Christmas. So it's kind of a different change of pace playing with these butterflies. And I feel like the butterflies are still cute for Valentine's Day and a great option for spring. Then to seal this in and protect that sticker, we're going to do a layer of gel base, cure for 30 seconds. And I did go ahead and do a layer of gel base on the sparkly nails as well. Then to finish everything in, the final step is that gel top coat, and we're going to go ahead and apply it to all the nails and then cure for a full 60 seconds. And then here's our finished set. I love this so much. There's something different about it. I really like the change of pace. We incorporated the butterflies. I like the glitter. I feel like it's adding a little bit of dimension to the nails, kind of giving it a little bit of like an icy effect. An opal, the way the light hits it, it almost has like an opal feel to it. I really like this color palette right here, and there's just something about the butterflies that I'm like totally loving right now, but very easy. But yet we incorporated some simple nail art with the color blocking. The touch of glitter on the color blocking line is really beautiful, and you can see that that glitter kind of looks like took a different light or color of its own on top of the two colors on that color blocking line. But overall, these powders worked really well with the gel method. And along the way, we chit chatted about the gel method, and I hope you found some helpful tips and tricks along the way during this video. All right, so I hope you enjoyed today's mani. Don't forget to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you all in the next one.